a lot of people don't have those resources, and it's not even typically much. You can always cut your coat according to your size. But most people don't even have the disposable income to go to the cheapest places to buy, to hang out, put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of, I mean, again, I don't have any data that backs it up, but Nigeria is not somewhere till today where people do too much data. They tried the last elections, and I think everybody that tried has packed up and left the gate. But I think that's a large part of it. So I think with these discos, I think to some degree they try to supply that energy to that that I won't call it excess, but that energy to certain localities that will pay a lot more. Some of them their defense might be, electricity theft in Nigeria is a mainstay of the this thing. But when you distribute electricity, it's also part of your job to design an infrastructure that prevents or at least minimizes electric theft and all those things, which and that's a whole other story. They just came in and bought off the government assets, and they seem to have done little or nothing.
They've done very little investment, and the whole point of privatizing the power infrastructure in the country was that these private owners would, of course, charge market rates, but they would also invest. I don't think that. I think the government still regulates to some extent what you can charge. So it's not totally a market rate that they can charge, but there's been very little investment in the infrastructure itself. So things are really not where a country of Nigeria's size, in a population that is now frequently put in excess of 200 million, should to be monkeying around with 4,000 megawatts in that area.
I don't even understand why. I don't understand why. Sorry to cut you though. I don't understand why people just don't invest in solar in Nigeria. I think a lot of people have, but I just think.
Well, that's actually becoming a thing.
Yeah.
So when I was in my hometown, so there's a relative who was actually installing solar because he said that the price of fuel, the rising price of gas for his generator was untenable, So, and that he had friends who had installed solar and that it was working out for them. What I understood was that in Nigeria they have two sort of alternatives for solar. One is solar panels that come chiefly from Canada, but they are used ones, So there are solar panels that have been used in Canada that are recycled to Nigeria, and I understood that is the luck of the draw. Sometimes you are lucky and you have one that was used for 1 or 2 or 3 years, but sometimes you have something that has been used for a long time in Canada. So, and it's just your luck. If you get one that lasts you could get one that will last for a decade or more. You could get one that will be good for a few months and it will pack up. But the newer ones tend to come from China.
China or Ghana?
Yes. From China, I understood. I didn't hear about Ghana at all as a player. Nigerians have, you have very impressive homes in Nigeria, and I would expect that those who have those homes are going to turn more and more in the especially in the countryside. Not so much in the cities. I didn't see a lot of solar in the cities. You still see industrial grade generators, but in Anambra State, I saw. In fact, I visited a few homes where they had solar panels. So
yeah, because
I was seeing a thing.
Yeah, I was seeing more and more people do it, and I'm sure you could do it for even cheaper. I've heard about Ghana. manufacturing. I've watched some guys do some
so
videos.
Ghana manufactures solar.
So I've heard.
Wow,
so I've heard.
That's interesting.
Ghana is slightly better than Nigeria, but every African, I have a lot of friends that do business in Africa, and they all have the same. I've had this argument with people. They all have the same stories in terms of doing, but slightly better. You do have, from what I understand, a Ghana company that does solar. How affordable it is, whether they assemble the whole thing there, whether it actually even comes from China as well.
Yeah.
That much, I know a couple of guys have done a couple of videos on YouTube. Maybe people can check that out. But I think you probably can get it for less than even 4.5, 4.3, 4.5 at today's exchange rate. Looking at about $3,000, which at least from my own this thing, it's a bargain.